What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be working on that A-pillar. So here's what I got going on. Off camera, I cut that little base plate off. That's part of that A-pillar. This guy. I got rid of this so I can look inside, and it's covered in surface rust, but the inner structure looks good. Now, as you can see here, it's pitted pretty good in this area, but the metal is still solid. Now, I do have this capture nut in here that is spinning. I'm not sure, can't really see what's happening, but I cut the donor piece off. And if you look inside, you can see these two little ears here. On mine, they spread apart. So the nut inside is just spinning. On a side note, I wire wheeled this, but look at how clean that inner structure is. You can still see the factory zinc coating on that captured nut in there. So, as you can see here, I cut the panel off. Definitely cut more than I need. And my idea is, where I'm going to start is, I'm going to work on this captured nut. Now, I was going to try and heat mine up and just pull the bolt out and then weld it back in. But given the rust and all that, I think I'm just going to cut it out and I'm going to weld the captured nut from the donor panel in here. Now, how I'm going to do that is, I'm just going to cut along the top. Even though my metal is solid, I have the donor panel, which is just going to make things easier. So I'm going to cut this out from here. And then I'll have enough space to get in there to get my belt sander in to get the spot welds on the cage for the captured nut. Get that guy out of there. Kind of see what we got going on. There's 3 layers of steel. And I do not want to touch this inner layer that the capture nut is welded to. So I'm going to drill these 2 welds here. And then I'm going to weld this nut on my car. And then I'm probably going to cut right here on this edge. And that's going to be where I'm going to weld it. I'm just going to use this whole end piece and get rid of all this pitting right here. And as for the pillar, I'm going to probably chop this bottom half. It's all pitted real bad. And this part right here is good. I don't think I want to get into these spot welds. Now it does come over the edge a little bit, so I might come to maybe about right there. Just cut it. And for the inside part, as you can see, there's some pitting there, but I'll wire brush it to get a better look, but I think that's fine. And that panel is going to come up to about right here. And we're going to get that all welded in. I don't want to touch this back structure. There's nothing wrong with mine. Alright, so as you can see, drilled out that little brace inside, got that separated, and I got the captured nut also separated from the brace. Look how clean that thing is. And there's that. It's held on with 2 welds. Now, what happened with mine is these 2 ears that are just bent, they spread out. So I guess in theory, I can just bend mine back in and then maybe put a tack on each side so it doesn't happen again. But since I got that bolt broken in there, I want to throw this guy in. So I'm going to go all the way with that. It's probably more work than I need to do, but that's the route I want to take. Trim this back right here, as I said, so I can get in there. As you guys can see in there, you can see it's rusty. There's a broken bolt, and you can see the side little tabs are bent out. Got the area cleaned out, sprayed with some weld-through primer. Here's the cage for the captured nut. I cleaned the inside. I painted it with some rust converter. Then I sprayed the ends with weld through primer as well. Here I have my longer nut. And like I said, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use those washers since this is longer. It's going to hold the nut. Then the the cage is going to be there, obviously. I have a washer, and then I'm going to have a bolt to hold the cage in place while I weld it. Now, again, I had 2 spot welds. You can still see the marks. Those are going to be my references. But I'm going to make sure that I have full range of motion in the hole before I weld anything. So the capture nut is now welded back in. I'm not going to bother dressing these welds. I'm going to leave all the meat on the bone for strength. You'll never see this. I also added some tacks on both sides to keep that cage from spreading. So now that that's done, it's time to start fitting the actual patch and trimming it up to where it's going to fit the way I want it to. Now, I think where I'm going to start is I'm going to just pretty much start by cutting out all the bad. As you can see, I made a line here right along that edge. And I didn't go all the way up because this panel isn't even going to, it's going to stop right about right here. So we're going to trim that out. And I kind of made this funky line going in all different directions. It's going to be a pain to cut. But the reason I did that was to follow this body line here. I'm probably going to have to remove the door in order to make that cut. And as I think about it, I think that's the route I'm going to go. Is I'm going to get the door off so I can cut along this body line. Sometimes it's worth putting in the extra effort to get the job done right instead of cutting a couple corners, because you want to save, what's it going to take, 20 minutes to take the door off. So pretty much we're going to get this door ripped off and we're going to start chopping away. Got the door removed. As you can see, I can get a better look down here. It's pitted pretty bad in this lower area right here. Actually, a really sharp edge right there. It does have some pit in this area here. Not too bad though. They do sell this patch, but again, I have that over there, and that's like all rust free. So I'm probably gonna cut the lower portion when we get there, make a patch. Now this rocker is solid, unless I find something further along the line, except for the front edge is pitted. And again, I'm probably gonna section just the front piece and replace it with that one there. We'll see when we get into it. I got to wire brush it to get a better look. But if I do end up changing it, I have all the panels I need right there. I got updates. I've been sitting here trimming away, getting this patch fitted, and so far it's coming out pretty good. You can see there. Got a nice little gap for my weld to go into. Now, it's not quite perfect yet. I got to do some filing along this edge. You can see I got little marks throughout. That's I measured the length, the distance from the end of the drip rail up and made marks. And I did the same on the driver's side. Then I measured the width of the pillar. And as you can see, this is 1 inch, 7 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches. Pretty much an inch and a half all the way to 7 inches. But the moment we get to 10, I can't read my writing, it's small, but that is 1 3/16. Right now, I got this. It's pretty much 1.5 all the way up. So from here down, we're good. Up here, we got to make some adjustments. And one thing to always do when you're doing stuff like this, grab your trim This magnet's messing things up for me. And always line it up, because these edges don't look that far off to the eye. But the moment I put this in, you can see it fits good. And then, uh-oh, we got a good little gap up there. So I'm going to keep working away at this. Like I said, this area is all fitting pretty good. I got measurements from here to here at 9.5. We're good where we are. So I just got to work this edge, get this to come in a little bit more. And then once I do that, it's going to be ready to burn in. And we're back. I got the area completely prepped. I wire brushed inside. And now it's ready to be coated. You see the tape there. I already dressed my weld, dressed the area to weld, so that's bare steel, and I don't want to get paint in those areas. And then here, I'm going to apply weld through primer. Same with there, it's a spot weld. So I put a little tape on there. Same deal with the patch panel. She's been cleaned up, ready to paint. Now, normally, I would use OSPO in there, but I do not have a chip brush. I searched this entire garage and I do not have a chip brush. I thought I had a little stash of them, but unfortunately I got to stock up. What I do have on hand is I have a rust converter spray. Now this stuff is good. It works. I prefer the OSPO, but it's either wait until tomorrow and get the OSPO and then apply the OSPO, and then I got to let that sit for another day, or use this stuff. So this works. I've used this in the past. Obviously, I have it in the shop. It's used. So this is what I'm going to use for now. The rest of the car, obviously, I'm going to be using my OSPO. I'm going to go get chip brushes tomorrow. Everything that you see that has rust will get wire brushed and a coat of OSPO before I top coat it. All right, so check this out. I got it all painted inside. Black is the Rust-Oleum rust converter. And then the grayish you see is the weld through primer. Now, I didn't bother taping off anything with the weld through primer because you'll never see that in there. But weld through primer, I sprayed on this edge, and then right there for the single spot weld. As you can see, the back side of this, it's all nicely coated. Now, I didn't use any self-tapping screws when fitting this beforehand. So now I got to fit it again, check my measurements. I should have screwed it in, but it is what it is. I honestly couldn't find my self-tappers. That's the main reason I didn't do it. Anyways, we get this clamped in, double check all the measurements, and then once that's done, fire up the hot glue gun and get it burnt in. So here's the game plan with this. Got the bottom portion all fitted up. I ran a bolt in, pulled it in nice and snug against the back plate. Got it clamped down here. My measurement from up here to this edge is 9.5, just like the other side. Down here is nice and flush. Measurement across is 1.5 inches, just like the other side. Now, as we go up, it gets a little funky. So when I pull this in and clamp it down, it changes it down here. So pretty much how I'm going to go about this is I'm going to put a couple tack welds down here, get it secured. Then I'm going to grab my clamps and pull this end down and tack that in place. Now, before I go beyond my tacks, I'm going to grab my windshield trim and I'm going to make sure that lines up well. If not, I'll cut the tacks and then readdress whatever needs to be done. Oh, we got it all burned in. Got to dress these welds. The top half I left undone because I still got to do this inner channel right there. As you can see, we'll get these all dressed up. Plug welds came out pretty good. Or two little drill holes there. Plug those up. Got plug welds on the inside. A little stitch right there. Get this dressed up. Here is the final finished product. I went over this all with that 120 grit sanding disc all the way around. Very happy with the results. And the best part is trim still fits nice and even all the way up. Well, that's pretty much going to end it with this one for now. We are one small step closer. I do got to finish the top half of the pillar, but I do not want to remove my bracing until I get the lower cowl panel. Now, I'm not happy with the way the two separate pieces fit together, so I'm going to return those. I'm going to get a one-piece unit. I guess that's what I get for being impatient. I didn't want to wait for the one-piece unit in the first place, so I just got the two separate. But returning those, we're going to get a one-piece unit. Once I get that in there, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable adding some structure back into the car to remove my bracing and then finish the rest of this pillar. Another bonus, found some rot holes right there. It's going to be the next patch. Luckily, this thing is coming in clutch because I don't know where I put it, but I did have that panel. Where did I put that little sucker? Anyways, I did have that panel from the firewall, and it's cut down here, but I don't need to use it all. So initially I was going to patch here, just that little piece, but luckily I found those pinholes, which caused me to start wire wheeling the entire back side of this, which then exposed that, and then a small one on the underside here, right there. Now I'm wondering if I can just put a copper backer on this side and maybe fill that in with some weld, just so I don't have to get into that area. We're going to find out. That's probably either going to be another video, or I'll probably just do that one off camera, just knock it out. As I said, I'm probably going to end this one here. I'm going to dress those welds on that firewall patch that I just did again, and start measuring out and working on the driver's side of the firewall, and also coming up with an idea on what I want to do in this cow area. Now, given the extensive repairs that I have to make to this car, I'm trying to do this budget friendly, but I'm also trying to do this right. I don't like hack work, and I don't like things to look out of place. So I'm going to look at this and see if I can make a patch myself, or is it just better off buying the panel, the inner cowl, this inner side cowl structure, and just sectioning that, or replacing the whole thing altogether. Now, I'm going to look and see how much that costs. As I said, I'm trying to keep the numbers down on this one because it needs a lot. So anywhere you can save a penny, might help. But anyways, I'm going to stop rambling on. Oh, look at that. There's a little panel I was telling you about. As you can see around the brake booster hole, it's ripped at the bottom, but I don't need that. So it's solid there. Again, I'm probably not going to use this entire piece, but another video. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care.